Welcome to the Party Hug Summer Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. You're listening to the Bunny Hug Farmers Podcast. My name's Tyler Janin. I'm here with my co-host, Dallas Leduc. We're having a ton of fun doing these. We got a lot of great guests lined up. We have an amazing guest this week, but Dallas, I haven't talked to you for a few days. Life keeps getting in the way. What have you been up to lately?
Oh, life has definitely gotten in the way. We cutting the combines, cleaned up. We still haven't fixed that badly broken one yet, but I figured 9 months before I got to worry about that, really. And then started doing some mowing, got some stuff I just got to take care of, and chemical out, finishing the spraying off. It's just, I hope we got a big November here so I can get lots of fall work done, because I don't know that my poor crop was late, but so it gets everything else behind. But yeah, we're just giving her all hands on deck here on the farm, so nothing too major.
It seems with this fall work, you're more busy with the fall work than you actually are like at harvest time, seeding time, in-crop spraying. It seems like you got more to do this time of year. At least it's that way on my family's farm.
Well, that's when you're doing the in-crop spraying, you're doing in-crop spraying. When you're seeding, you're seeding. When you're combining, that's your only focus is getting that grain into the bin. But when you're done all them, then it's clean this up, put this away, mow that, disc that, fix this, tin that, move this. That's in the dumb spot. Why'd we do that? And then, all of a sudden you can go 20 different directions in one day. When you're combining, you're combining.
And it does get a little discouraging sometimes because when you've gone that 20 different directions in a day, you don't really feel like you've got anything accomplished because it's such small things you've got done and accomplished. You haven't like combining where you've done that quarter section or 2 quarter sections. You've just done little odd jobs here or there. So
you don't get that physical, that field's cut. I mean, yesterday it was fully grain. Today, beautiful golden stubble. You don't get that satisfaction, but it's all got to get done. But I am very honored. I had a buddy of mine stop by the farm here a little while ago just for a quick visit, and then I managed to twist his rubber arm, and I have Edward Hofer from Arm River Agro, which is more the Hutterite colony up by Lumsden, has agreed to come join us. And I don't know how many episodes this is going to turn into, but it's definitely going to be more than one, folks, because we have so many questions. We have pages of questions for Eddie and the history and stuff. So I am honored to welcome Edward Hofer to the Bunny Hug Farmers Podcast. What's up, Eddie?
Hey, guys. How are you guys making out?
We're living the dream. Anytime I get to talk to, a fellow TikToker and a fellow farmer, I'm in my full glories, because that seems to be my passions has always been farming, and now it's farming and social media. And you're also a pretty big guy on social media. We'll get into that later, but you do a lot on there. And I was talking to you the other day, and when you start off your video saying, "Oh, it's a beautiful, glorious morning," you always put a smile on my face.
Well, that's good. No, I do talk with a lot of farmers every day, actually. And you know what? They tell me a lot of them tell me the exact same thing, and they enjoy the context so much. It's crazy. I'm talking with all kinds of farmers from BC right to Ontario, and which has been, I started the TikTok last year, basically. I guess the first one that we ever made was we're fixing this Brent Dogger, and I think it was fixing that Brent Dogger or whatever we were doing. And I said to one of the youngsters there, what the heck, let's make a TikTok. How do you do this? So I hand him the phone, and he's scrolling through, and his function buttons and all kinds of stuff. He says, "Okay, Eddie, I'm going to hit record, and you do what you got to do." So then the first one that I made, and shucks, I think that one got literally 1,500 views in like 3 or 4 hours. And, oh, man. So and then it kind of just went from there. And, I just made the odd TikTok video of things getting fixed and stuff. And then we got into, this Arm River Agro thing, which has really exploded. But what really, really caught on, really got me a lot of followers, was the paint throwing under those New Hollands. I'm not sure what it was, but it was absolutely crazy, the amount of followers a guy can get just doing something simple like that.
It's amazing what draws, gets into the algorithm in TikTok. We're already off script here, Tyler. But it's just amazing what And not to mention, you like that's why we want to talk to you so much about your history. Is you sow a side that nobody sees, that I didn't. I mean, I didn't grow up near too many colonies, so I only ever got to see the odd Hutterite when I was in the city and stuff. So you've showed me a side that I didn't grow up with, that I have so many questions. I want to know so much more. I mean, you guys are Canadians. You've been Canadians obviously your whole life. Your colony's probably been around for a lot of years, hundreds probably, over 100 years, I would assume. So
I'm going to cut you off there, Dallas. I got a question for you, Eddie. Where did the Hutterites come from, and what started the Hutterite colony tradition?
It was actually Jacob Hofer from, I was actually there 4 years ago. 6 years ago, actually, I went to the farm show in Hanover, Germany, which is called the, what's that one called there? Agritaka show.
Yeah.
So me and a friend went over, check out the show. But anyway, so after the show, we basically took off, wanted to do some touring. So we stayed outside of Prague for one night at an Airbnb. And the person we were staying at there, he was actually, I'm not quite sure how to call it, but it's a guy that remembers everything. He cannot forget nothing. He sees something that's in his brain, that's in his brain. He will never forget it. So anyway, we sat down, we're over a couple of beers or whatever, and we started talking with this guy that owns the Airbnb. And he asked me, well, you got a little bit of a different accent. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm a Hutterite back in Canada. We're Hutterites. He says, oh, no, oh, yeah, I know all about your culture. I look at him like, come on, you're over here in Prague. What the hell would you know about Hutterites? He's like, you guys do know you guys started out about 20 miles from here. Jacob Hofer started out 20 miles from here. He says, I know more about Hutterite culture, more about Hutterite history than I can guarantee any of you guys do know. Jacob Hofer, he said, was born 20 miles from here. He was caught and captured, and he had already created a religious group called the Hutterites. It was after Jacob Hofer. So Jacob Hofer, his last name, developed Hutterite. So anyway, and they caught him, and I think they released him or something. And then he fled to Austria. And in Austria, there is a golden roof. I'm trying to think of the name. Anyway, you can Google it, and it'll come up, the golden roof in Austria. Right there is where they actually captured him again. And then he was burnt at the stake. And the rest of them fled north, I believe, to Russia. And then from Russia, they came to New York. And then from New York, they came to South Dakota, North Dakota. And then they slowly moved up into Canada. So that's basically how. Actually, you know what? He came into the U.S. So the war started. There was a war that started in the U.S. And Canada needed some farmers. So then they fled from the U.S. into Canada. And we started farming here in Canada. And then some of them moved back into the U.S. And that's where you get the colonies in the U.S. now. And then we just basically started from one colony to two colonies. So there's actually, you know what? I'll go back a little bit. There were three brothers. One brother was the teacher. So they call him the Laeroloid. He started the Laerolites. And then there was a blacksmith, which is called a Schmiedloid. They call themselves Schmiedleit now. Okay. He was a blacksmith. And then Darius Light, I think they were the farmers. You know what? I can't really remember how the Darius Light got their name, but I think they were the actual farmers. So these three brothers split up, and they founded their own cultures. You know, like down in your neck of the woods there, Dallas, you got Rockland colony. So those guys are Laerolite colonies. That's a Laerolite colony, and we're a Darius colony up here. And then down in your neck of the wood at Elkhorn, Prairie Elk or whatever. So those guys in Manitoba, they're Schmiedloid.
Okay.
And then, in the difference, there's not really that much of a difference between the three of us. There is and there isn't. So the Schmiedloid, they're down in Manitoba, they're massive into manufacturing. By golly, I think almost every single colony's got a manufacturing shop with a laser, bender, you name it, you've got it there into manufacturing.
Yeah, at Plainview and Boundary Lane, they do just about everything.
Yeah, no, 100%, they do.
Oh, yeah, I talked to the one that makes the fancy toolboxes that go into the box of your pickup truck there. I don't have a good enough pickup truck to get one of those fancy toolboxes.
Yeah, I think that's That'll be a colony over by Winkler, I believe, that does that work.
No. That's actually a colony up at Menadosa.
Okay, yeah, they've probably done the aluminum body on our service truck too. Then
They're really good. They're really knowledgeable in that stuff. You give them a piece of steel and they'll turn it into something. You give me a piece of steel, I might be torched down to nothing.
She'll look like a crushed beer can in no time.
Yeah, you got her. You got her.
So how many years have Hutterite culture been in Canada then?
And that's a good question. That's a good question. To be honest with you, I honestly can't answer that question, but it's gotta be over close to 160 years now.
That's a good enough answer for
At
me.
least,
I'll
at least
take
160 years. Yeah.
Which, so that, that's, because the Leduc family homesteaded in Assiniboia in 1905, which is only 120 years. So, I mean, honest to goodness, you guys, the Hutterites and their cultures and your family, you've been here longer than a whole lot of the homesteaders were, which is, you're more Canadian than I am.
Actually, you know what? It was only three generations ago. It's only like 3 generations. Like the third last generation came up from the States. Came out of Wolf Creek, South Dakota, and they moved to Wolf Creek, Alberta, which is just south, I believe, south of Lethbridge. And then from there, I'm talking our colony here. From Wolf Creek, they went to Spring Creek, and then Spring Creek, which is at Walsh. We moved down here to Arm River, and then from Arm River, we split off to LaJord, and now we're splitting off again to another colony, which is at Edenwald.
So now that we're on the topic of splitting a colony, how big can a colony get before you need to split it, or what's the reason behind splitting a colony?
You know what? It used to be colony split at around 100, 110 people, but now because everything is getting so tighter, it's I guess back in the day, I believe it wasn't as stressed. You could work with 50 people per site and you had no problem. Well, shucks, now we're at 170 people and we're still struggling and we're building a colony. Like, everybody is literally hands on deck. We operate one of the biggest metal siding, metal roofing manufacturing facilities in Canada. And that darn gobs up a quarter of our people, a quarter of our workforce, and then so 160, and now you won't find, I don't think you'd be finding anybody splitting under 150 people because you just need the manpower.
Right. So how do you choose the jobs on who does what?
Boy, that's a loaded question. You know what? Every colony is kind of a little bit different, but you kind of grow up, let's say this kid comes out of school at, if you want to go into the education, they can either get out of school at 15 or they can go get their grade 12 education. As far as I'm concerned, this is my opinion only. Nobody should be in school past the age of 15. If you want to go to grade 12, get out there, get out in the working world, and teach yourself something. But that's my opinion. Totally my opinion.
Everybody has the right to their own opinion.
Yep, 100%.
Well, and that's, like you said, you got, and you yourself, you got out and you went and seen a little bit of the world. Actually, you ended up working for one of our neighbors just over here. And that's how I got to meet you, was you were bringing the old boss some net wrap. And I conned you over the swing by the farm here for a few minutes. Because and that's another question. How often, you left for a while and come back? Is that common for a young guy or gal to leave and come back? Or is that the norm or the rarity?
You know what? Right now, when the dairy is light, we're probably 1%. 1% of people leave, and I would say 0.8% come back within a year to 2 years. So it's not like it used to be. I think it used to be a whole lot more people left, but I think it's getting so tough out there. You look over the other side of the fence. Actually, that grass sure looks a hell of a lot greener than inside this fence. But once they get out there, they actually realize, like, okay, this world ain't for me.
Yeah, that's not grass. That's kosher.
Mm.
And that
Exactly.
kosher don't taste good.
With your Hutterite colony, you're a support system. Everybody carries everybody. Everybody helps everybody out. So you don't have to go into the specifics. But how does the financial situation work on a colony? Does everything gets clumped into one sum and everybody gets a percentage of that for their own? Or how do you go from there? How do you have money? How does the colony have money? How does that all work?
And we don't want big financial details. We just want a rough. I don't know what's in your bank account. I'd like to know what's in your bank account.
No, that's right. Yeah. Hey, you don't want to know what's in my bank account. I had to start the second bank. The first one got filled.
Good job.
Far from it. But anyway, so here's how here's how this kind of works. So you got your front bench, you got your board of directors. So on the board of directors, you'll have the two ministers. So minister number one, he's the head of the whole colony. He is the overseer of the entire colony. And then you got the second minister, which is the first minister's helper. Okay. And then after that one, you got the financial boss. So the financial boss, he takes care of all the financials right across the whole place. So when the dairy check comes in, when the chicken eggs check comes in or whatever, he takes care of that. He makes sure it's all going into the right accounting. Every single thing that's made inside the colony goes into basically into one pot. So everybody is treated 100% identical from the day you're born to the day you die. Everybody is treated 100% equally. So let's say, it's sure one business doesn't do as good as the other business, but that's the same as with you guys out in the outside world. Not everybody can get into the business where, into the business where it's doing so much better. You have to be diversified. You're not gonna put a cowboy looking after you. You're not gonna take a cowboy and make him look after a chicken barn, right? You're not gonna get a chicken guy to look after a cowboy or a bunch of cows. It's we got to put our people to where their heart is.
Well, that also leads me to the next question. Back to money. So the colony pulls all the money together. Do you collect a wage? Do you get an allowance, or you just, or do you have to bring back every receipt to the boss to get reimbursed?
Oh boy, that's a good loaded question, there, Dallas. That's a good loaded question. How do we all get paid? How do we all get paid? Well, like I say, that is a very good loaded question. If you want to put it into a dollar valuation, me, myself, on average, for what the colony gives me, what the colony provides, everything included, I'm probably making well over $100,000 a year. And the reason I say this is this: let's say you get married, you immediately get a $450,000 house, brand new. Here you go. This is your house. This is where you stay. Colony furnishes it up for you to about 75%, and they're like, here you go. It's $500,000. You take these $500,000 and you divide them into the last, since you were, say, 17 years old, up to the day you got married. Okay? Now you take your food, your clothing. If you want to go on a trip, your vehicle, your gas, your money for your gas, that everything is provided by the colony. So like I say, if you'd actually sit down and actually really figure it out, every working person, every male working person on the colony makes close to $100,000 a year. But do we get that directly, like get a paycheck of $100,000? Or do we get that in cash? Absolutely not. We go back, that money goes into that pot. You know what? You get married. We're going to build you a house. We're going to get it furnished out for you. If you become a manager of a job, they give you a brand spanking new truck. Here you go. Here's a $110,000 truck.
Yeah, that answered a lot of questions for me, and I presume Dallas too, because you answered a few other questions I had in there.
Another question. I'm married. Is there room to build me and move me in a new house? I'm a pretty good worker. I know my way around a welder, and I take orders pretty well. I look good in black. And folks, you know, we like to laugh. I love to laugh. If I can't laugh with somebody, your day sucks. So, you know, I don't think they'd take me.
So that's another question for me. Is, say if an outsider like me wanted to join a Hutterite colony, would I be able to do that?
100% you can. Yeah.
So what would entail that? Would I just have to accept the religion and?
You would have to accept the religion. Now that's one thing. You would definitely have to accept the religion. There have been cases where I do know of a case at a colony. I'm not going to mention the colony, where this guy just, colony was farming on one side of the fence, and him and his family were farming on the other side of the fence. And he was always looking on the colony, over on the colony sides of the fence, and he's like thinking, you know what? I'm not sure that I think these guys, they've got it figured out. They've got it figured out. And then one day he approached the colony, and he says, you know what? I want to move in. I want to move in. Whatever I got to do, I got to do. So they took him in. They took him in, and now he manages he manages that massive company in the colony. I can't mention colonies, but he's really done good. And this guy, he'll never look back ever again.
Oh,
I
good
think,
for him.
the biggest thing is for somebody to move in, it would be a massive culture shock. It would be a definitely massive culture shock. That's the biggest thing. It's
Well,
not like
I've done Hutterite colony tours. I did one in elementary school, and I did another one in high school. And you wouldn't know it looking in from the road, but when you, like you're saying, when you go in, it is a culture shock. Like, all the houses are the same. The workshops are massive, and the amount of people moving around and the infrastructure in there to support that colony is amazing as well.
One thing I noticed, that we had some truck problems years ago by Assiniboia, and they invited us into the yard, into the shop, helped us get fixed up. We were looked at. Again, I don't know what I was talking about back then. They were looked at like a buddy. Like, they seemed like they bent over backwards to try to accommodate us. Like, I was so educated back then. It's like, you guys were the best goddamn people I've talked to in months or weeks. And, they treated me so well. It was just amazing how different it was. Like you said, big workshops, super helpful, super nice. I get invitations from all my buddies on TikTok there to stop by lots of colonies for supper and steaks whenever I want. I think I'll never go hungry.
You know what, Dallas, you bring up a good subject there. So, let's say I'm taking a load of Armor Agro products to Alberta. Say I'm taking it to Alberta. Okay. And here I go up in the number 9 or the number 1, wherever I'm going. And by golly, I look back and I get a blowout. Right in the middle of the doggone road, I get a blowout. It is not uncommon. Just look over on your right side, you see a colony. You're like, and you don't know these people from Adam. I'm talking about, me as a Hutterite. I don't know these people from Adam. But if I pull in, and I know if I pull into that yard, there'll be 4 or 5 people there. Hey, what's going on? Where you from? What you doing? Blah, 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 blah. I got to blow up. Holy shit. Well, that sucks. Pull into bay number 3 there. We'll get you all fixed up. You pull in, truck gets lifted up, tire gets changed. See you later. That's how Hutterites work. We all work together, whether we know each other or not. But at the end of the day, we all work together.
So that's another question I got for you. In Hutterites, obviously you got to buy products to support your people, and you sell products. So do most Hutterite colonies try to buy like eggs or milk or other produce from other Hutterite colonies, or do you just buy it where you can get it cheapest?
Yeah, you're asking, so you trade among the colonies too? Like
yes, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
No trade. There's every colony has their own supply. Every colony has their own supply of eggs. Every colony has their own supply of milk, the gardens and stuff. Every colony is pretty much close to about 80%, I guess, self-sufficient. Like, we got these big, huge gardens. We got our own dairy. We got our own chicken barns. We got our own beef. It's about 80% self-sufficient. And the other 20% is, we don't make our own medicine. Come February, March, well, all the vegetables that you got out of your own garden have gone bad already. You got to throw them out now. You got to start buying from the wholesale club or whatever. But with that being said, sometimes there's a few deals out there that are to be had. When How would I do? How would I see that? Let's say a store needs to get rid of 50 pallets of 50 pallets of watermelon or 50 pallets of potatoes or whatever. Well, an email goes out, and everybody that wants some, well, there's over 200 colonies, right? Whoever wants some, well, next thing you know, that load is gone, and that's kind of how we communicate. We communicate like that quite a bit, actually. But,
So now,
go ahead.
so now that we're kind of on the topic of food, how do the meals work? And it's maybe a misconception or something, but are most meals eaten together with the whole colony in a hall, or do you eat at home like the average Joe?
Nope. All meals, except if you can't make it, they're all eaten in the kitchen. They're all eaten in the community kitchen. So 7 o'clock in the morning, breakfast time. You get breakfast 7 o'clock in the morning, and our meal and our schedule of breakfast is Monday. Monday it is usually an egg omelet. Tuesday is bacon and eggs. Wednesday is a muffin and eggs. Thursday is pancakes and eggs. Saturday is cereal. And Sunday, I have no idea what it is on Sunday. I've never been to a breakfast on Sunday. I think they got eggs or whatever. And then that is the schedule. So every day of the week, that is what you are having at 7 o'clock in the morning. That bell
So
rings at
I'm
7
stopping by for breakfast Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays.
So 7 o'clock in the morning, that bell rings, and if you're not there, tough luck. Go find yourself somewhere else to eat. And then lunchtime, usually lunchtime is around 11 o'clock, and it's usually a mix-up of what you have for lunch. It can be soup and sandwich. Well, for all I care, start of October, it could be soup and sandwich every day. I love soup and sandwiches, but whatever. There's usually really good meals. So 11:30, the bell rings at 11:30. Everybody comes, sits down, and eats together. Everybody eats together. And then at supper time is normally, if we don't have an evening service, church service, it's about 5:45, and then everybody comes in for supper. And then supper is the same as dinner. It's kind of a mix-up. You never really know what's going to be served. But I mean, our meals they're pretty good, to say the least.
So is the kitchen ran by the women of the colony? Is that kind of their duties, is looking after the gardens and making sure everybody's fed and well?
Yes, 100%. The women look after 100% of the garden, and they look 100% after the kitchen. It's totally 100% on them.
I can remember in elementary school, we went to the Hutterite colony and they fed us, and they were some of the best darn biscuits I've ever had.
And everything is homemade. Well, not everything is homemade, but the majority of everything is homemade. Everybody in the world now is going to this beef tallow, deep fried food in beef tallow. Well, shucks, we've never known anything else. When we go deep, some kind of a doing. Let's say we're done eating or whatever, and the boys want to get together. That same night we get done eating, let's deep fry a turkey. We're putting canola oil in that darn thing because it's, we never use canola oil. We use beef tallow. We use pork tallow. We use pork fat, goose fat, right? Mm-hmm. So it's definitely, a person from the city coming out here, they just cannot overcome the food. Absolutely phenomenally, just can't overcome it. We go to the city to a restaurant, we absolutely love it. And it's kind of what you're used to. And, you step into a restaurant, man, this food is good. Well, it's because you don't get it every day, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure I'd get sick of that restaurant food pretty fast. And that goes down south when we're down custom harvesting from Texas to northern Saskatchewan. I tell you what, boys. When I was back home here, when we finally came back into Saskatchewan, and I sat down at my own colony at the table and had supper or lunch or whatever, man, living was that a different.
Oh, yes, yeah. I lost my train of thought there. you got to be talking about food, and yeah. Back to some of the financial side here. Just had a little question. Like when it comes to the colonies buying some of the farm machinery, like when you guys buy your combines, do you buy them just in your colony, or do you, the more buying power at one time, the better? Or do you buy with other colonies all together as one big purchase?
You know what, Dallas? You bring up an excellent question. That is actually a really good question. To answer your question, no colony buys equipment together with different colonies. And why they don't, I cannot still figure out why they don't. Like, I mean, I've talked to colonies and I says, guys, I'm not meaning to brag or whatever, but we're our house. You know what? If every colony would get together and go to your Red Belt Plain and say, here's the deal. 200 farms. There's 200 farms. There's 2,500 ton to there's 2,500 ton. That's per farm. Like that'd be like 50,000 ton of fertilizer in one buy. You know what I mean? It's just
There would be some major discounts.
Exactly.
there would be some major discount. But for some reason, every colony just wants to keep buying from their local dealer. Well, which I could see why too. You know what? You really don't want to get the old dealership ticked off. And next thing you know, you're at the bottom of the total pole with service. I can understand that. But going back, there's a farmer, which we all know who he is. He basically bought all of his equipment from the one dealer, and he farms pretty good area. So I can't see why that would be any different.
Yeah, and then you talk to guys that farm around him in the dealerships. He is in his mind, I think he's the top of the totem pole, but all of his neighbors have him just stuck to the bottom of their shoes. So yeah.
So yeah, no, but you know what? At the end of the day, if every colony would get together and say, you know what, guys, there's what the heck? I counted up all the colonies. There's close to 600 colonies. Can you imagine 600 farms walking into a dealership and saying, on average, let's say we all run on average 5 combines and walk into a dealership and say, hey, you know what? We need 2,000 combines. What can we do?
You'd have a salesman. You'd have a salesman rubbing their hands like this, going,
Oh, yeah.
"Cool, gimme, 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 gimme."
Yeah,
But why we don't do it, I don't know. I've honestly tried getting guys together, trying to get it going, but it never really worked out. It never really worked out.
I'm just sitting here thinking about it, like because I'm a CNH guy. I'm just thinking, if you were able to do that, you're probably already in it with the amount of machinery you're running, but the fleet discount that would be on just machinery alone, it would be huge. You'd be getting half of it for nothing.
If we'd all get together like that. Yeah.
But I like what Eddie said there. You can't buy all together, because all of a sudden, if every colony got together and bought all the tractors from Red Deer, all of a sudden your local dealer by Regina or whatever, when you want service, he's going to look at you and say, I think the mechanics are busy for the next 10 or 12 weeks, because you've cut him completely out. So, but you have to share the wealth is kind of what I'm saying there. So I understand that completely.
You know what? I can understand it with chemical. I fully understand that not with chemical. I fully understand that with equipment. Okay. Equipment. Okay. Whatever. Everybody go buy wherever you feel like buying from. But how's about the chemical? How's about the fertilizer? Just the chemical and the fertilizer alone. Imagine walking into Yara's office and saying, here's the deal, boys. 50,000 ton. This is what our order is for this year. It's 50 ton in the urea. We're going to start holding it out here in 2 months. I've tried getting the group together to do it. And it goes right back to, everybody just seems to be happy with who's supplying them with urea. But urea is urea. You put it down in the ground, crop grows. That's the less you see of it, right?
It's gone.
It's not like equipment, It's not like equipment where you got to call your dealer you got to call your dealer for service. You got to call your dealer for this or for that. But you know what? With that also being said, in the dealerships, what I've kind of noticed too, they got their own departments there. The service guy tries to do as much as possible for his department. The sales guy, he tries to do as much for his department. So on and so forth. I've kind of noticed that. When you call a service, if you call a service guy, they're more or less happy to help you out, even if you didn't buy that equipment from you. But they're there. They want to help you out, and so on and so forth. So it's the farming industry. I hate to. I don't really like to see it, but the mom and pop shop dealer is gone. That's totally gone. right now, I'm sorry to say it, but at the end of the day, I'm not mentioning no dealers. At the end of the day, unfortunately, everybody is just worried how big and fat their bottom line is at the end of the year. I'm not sure if you want to edit that out. That's perfectly fine with me.
I think that's, this is part of this whole podcast is to get your opinion on things. And you're right, on a lot of them things. So it is tough for the mom and pop dealerships to ever make it. I mean, if you're not buying with 5 or 6 dealerships, you won't have enough buying power with CNH to get any sort of discount to sell combines and tractors and compete against your massive dealerships. Whatever ones, the big ones that come out of the mountains in Alberta, that one, you can't compete with them if you don't have enough buying power. If you're not ordering enough combines, all of a sudden, when I want to buy a nice combine, well, it's going to be $100,000 dealer difference from the other one because they have so much better buying power.
Yeah. So we actually have a small dealership that we deal with. They're a mom and pop shop. And I don't know how they do it, but you'd be surprised how competitive they are against them big guys. It's amazing. Saying that, they don't have the power throughout their inventory to do large flips. They can do a piece or two at a time, but for say, they couldn't handle 10 combines, 5 4-wheel drives at one time like the big guys could.
Yeah.
No, that's...
And maybe their bottom line, they don't have probably a group of shareholders all just rubbing their hands together. Their bottom line can be a lot smaller, a little tighter to the belt than some of them big greedy companies are.
And I think that's how they're doing it, because the guy that you do the machine deal with, it's his name on the sign, and he's the owner. His son is the parts manager. Grandson is one of the up-and-coming mechanics. So it is a true family-run business. And saying that, like you'd said, Dallas, they can have their bottom line a lot tighter.
Yeah. So anyway, tell you, and this wasn't too long ago. Going back to these mom-and-pop shops, just in Bethune here, the very last dealership in Bethune used to be, it was called the old Cot Shot, okay? And I can remember when I was 16, 17 years old, running an air seat or whatever, and a doggone bolt broke or whatever, hose broke or something broke, something very standard broke or whatever. And it wasn't no problem. Some of the mechanics there, they knew everybody there. They knew where the key was, grabbed the damn key, opened the door, and went, grabbed the bolt or whatever we needed in the middle of the night, got you fixed up, ready to go. And the next day you call in and say, hey, I went in, I grabbed that bolt or I grabbed that hose, I needed this or that. Yeah, no problem, we'll charge you out. Be done with it. You want to do that today? Yeah, forget it.
You're not wrong there. No.
So that leads me to one of my questions. You've been around the block a time or two. You're not an old man, but you're not a young spring chicken. How much have things changed since you were a teenager till now? How much have they changed the last 20 years?
Oh, boy.
Another loaded question.
That's a good loaded question, Dallas. That's a good loaded question. You know what? I think the best way I can describe it is we just follow modern times. Back in the day, having a half ton, that was a privilege. You're privileged to have that half ton. You walk, say 15 years ago, you drive into a colony, you'd probably see maybe 5 half tons. You drive into a colony today, well, shit, you're not going to stop at 20. I honestly think they've gotten really lenient. The colonies have gotten really lenient. There's no doubt about that. But I think that has a lot to do as the world is changing. You take 16 years ago, we were 80% reliant on strictly farming. We had one chicken barn. That was 20 years ago. We had one chicken barn. We're strictly reliant on farming, and we had a dairy barn. Well, you fast forward 20 years now, well, we're running one of Canada's largest metal siding, metal roofing industry, manufacturing industry. We're running Arm River Agro, and, that takes delivery trucks. We're running a whole bunch more chickens than we were 20 years ago. It's just as we're building, we're not only farmers anymore. Now all of a sudden we've become manufacturers. We've become distributors. We've become importers. It just grows. Basically, I could say, you can't put your eggs in one basket anymore.
You become a major social media influencer.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, does it change your way of life as being a hood right? To be honest with you, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Your beliefs are still the same. It's just the work has changed.
Yeah, 100%. The belief is all still there. The culture is 100% still there. Nothing has changed there. We're still dressed in homemade clothes. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not quite sure how you guys carry that store-bought and stuff out there, but that's beside the point. By golly, have you walked into Walmart lately? If people that just jumped out of bed, jumped into their vehicle, and they're walking into the Walmart, you can only say, God bless your soul so many times. Sorry, guys.
Well, you're right there on the pants. I struggle to find pants that fit me right, so maybe I'll have to start shopping at your tailors.
So, but the way we operate, that is definitely changed. It definitely has changed. But culture-wise, I don't think anything has changed there.
No, in farming in general, I remember my grandfather, God rest his soul, he come for a ride there one time. I was seating on the home place there, and that was right when it was probably for whatever, right when auto steer was just starting to take off. And he just couldn't believe that the stars and the satellites were steering the tractor, because he was in his 80s at that time. And that was just, you're saying the stars are steering the tractor. Like, I never would have believed that, you didn't have to run the steering wheel. And that was 20 years ago. And since then, now if the auto steer quits, so's the guy behind the wheel, basically. So, and things just keep progressing. And we're going to look back 20 years from, I hope we're all here 20 years from now, we're going to look back and go, man, so much stuff has changed in the last 20 years. I can't imagine where we're going to go to, but I couldn't imagine getting to the now. I can't imagine, I couldn't imagine 2 years ago, last year this time, to be able to have a podcast that I'm connected hands-on in, talking to farmers and people throughout agriculture world to get to where we're at. So, I mean, and that's just my own personal, Tyler and I's own experience of creating this podcast to talk agriculture with, Western Canada and the northern states and wherever we end up talking to people from. Because, like I said, we're all having a real ball doing this. And that's just my own changes. But especially on the colony, it's going to keep, and you're going to look back probably in 20 years and go, man, have we come a long ways in 20 years?
Mm-hmm. Talking, while you're bringing up a good subject there, talking about the way we farm versus the way you guys farm. There's a massive difference. Here's actually one of the biggest differences. You guys hire people, you hire whoever you got to hire to run your equipment or whatever. Nobody's got skin in the game. The only guy that's got skin in the game is, the farmer. You know what I mean? You're the one with the, you're the one with the payments on that combine. You're the one with the payments on that tractor. You own it. You got the skin in the game. Hire somebody for $30 an hour. Now you got to train this guy. You got to train them. You got to do all this and that. Here at the colony, all have the skin in the game. We all own that 620 horsepower tractor. We all own that half ton. We all own that truck. We all own, we all own it together. I think there's a lot more. I think that brings a lot more care and attention to the equipment. I have a lot of farmers out there, and every time it comes around by harvest time or seeding time, they're like, son of a gun, well, gotta train somebody new. By golly, at the end of harvest, shit, this guy cost me 70, 80,000, 100,000, and over a rock, or ran over, they did something, they broke something. You know what? Here's where we're standing in that situation. For the last 15 years, close to the last 15 years, all those air seeders have been run by the exact same people. Come seeding time. We're going to go start seeding here next spring. Those guys know exactly what's wrong with their drill, how to run their drill. They know everything inside and out of it. They just jump on it. They know what they got to fix. They know the fields. They know the sloughs. They know the ravines. They know the wells. They know everything. There's no training. We don't need to train. The only training that we do is, let's say one of the drill operators gets a different job looking after whatever, so he's no longer running a drill. So we get a new guy that jumps on. He gets exactly 3 hours of training. We get on there, get him 3-4 hours of training, And he's good. After 3-4 hours, you got any questions, there's a two-way to the right. Talk in it, and somebody will have an answer for you, like right now. Everybody knows what's going on. Or he will call the old operator, and they'll get it fixed. So it's different.
And that is different. That is a good way to think of it, though. I mean, everybody owns everything. So, I mean, you treat that like it is yours because it is yours. You don't want to run that drill and tractor to the ground. It's yours. You have an ownership stake in that whole operation. I mean, you want to, so the extra care, the detail and attention is probably at a higher than the average hired man would be.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I do know a lot of guys, a lot of hired hands out there. They do take care of the equipment, but it's the training. Yeah, it's different. I just will see it the way it is definitely different.
I can understand where you're coming from that because I live and work on a large family farm. Like I've got myself here. My grandpa, he worked up almost until the day he died. I got my dad, my uncle. My uncle has a son involved who's my cousin. I got a brother involved. So we're kind of in the same stake. We still do got to hire a little bit of a help in, but I totally understand where you're coming from that because all of us have skin in the game. So we take care of the equipment like it's almost our firstborn child. So it's very easy to understand. Oh, you have to, especially with the price of it now today. We just priced out a new combine here the other day, and it's a CX conventional New Holland combine, an 8080, and it's over $1 million. That's before.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's hard to believe not even 10 years ago, those combines were under $500,000 new.
Yeah. And that's one thing back to our operation. I mean, ours is structured different. It's my parents and then my wife and myself, and my brother comes down as much as his job lets him get a hand on running a combine. But I'm pretty fortunate. My guys now, they're all been here at least a year, and they run that machinery like they own it. But that's something that it took the right breed of guys to have. Tommy looks after that tractor and drill like he owns it, which is, it's better than frickin' not giving a rat's ass and running it to the ground and skipping oil changes, and I'll grease that tomorrow or next week. And, that's a big difference.
Yeah, that Tommy Dallas, he's quite the character. I walked around AIM with him for 2 days straight, and he had to drag me over to the seed mass or the Vaderstat drill, and he had to show me, this is effed on ours, this is screwed on ours, they improved on this is like that, this is like this on our drill or on my drill. And I'm like, you mean Dallas drill? Yeah, same, he should say.
Yeah. oh yeah, no, there's you know what, there are some manufacturers out there. To be very honest with you, I'm not going to name no manufacturers of company manufacturers, but you know the strength of that equipment. It's how would I put it? So we do quite a bit of RD testing on equipment for Diegelman, and I will give this to Diegelman. They will not release a piece of equipment until it is absolutely redneck crazy ready to go and ready to be released. Like you could take that damn thing on top of Mount Everest, drop it down, hook it up, and keep on rolling. There's not going to be a damn thing.
Yeah, no, we run a fair bit of Diegelman equipment on my family's farm too, and we've had 2 instances where a new machine failed, and Diegelman came really good on it both times. One, we had a manure spreader, and when you open the end gate, a cylinder would bind up and it'd make a loud snapping pop sound. And we phoned up the dealer. They talked to Diegelman. All of a sudden, a Diegelman rep phoned Dad and said, so we can either pull that one back to Regina, figure out what's wrong with it, rebuild it or fix it, or the truck that's going to come out and pick it up, it'll just bring you out a brand new one and we'll just swap it and we'll make it work in the paperwork. Okay, perfect. And then we had a land roller that the frame twisted in, and it's their new design, and they came good on it. They gave us our money back on it, and we just bought a different Diegelman one, and away we went again. So Diegelman has been very awesome to my family. And here's a fun note. If you look at old brochures of the Diegelman shuttle cart, some of those pictures are from the shuttle cart that we have on this farm still today, taken at this farm.
And that's why, back to R&D and equipment there, that's why actually, I'll give my shameless plug here, but I R&D'd the Mandanko 7-plex roller. The one we own is the prototype. The serial number just says prototype, because my terrain, my hills, my water runs are going to stress out that system way more than flat Winkler, Manitoba ever will. So in order to test it out properly, you got to put it in the terrain that's going to give it a little use and abuse there.
Yeah, no, exactly. 100%. But Diggleman has been, it's going on a little bit off the topic. Diggleman's got to probably, these guys are allowed to talk about us. But no, they've been really good to us. Absolutely.
Oh, it's our podcast. We can talk about whoever we want. Until somebody's got a big check connected to their name, I don't care who we talk about.
So trying to get a little bit back on topic here, I got another question. What do most people misunderstand about Hutterite life?
What do most people misunderstand about the Hutterite life or the Hutterite farming? On the farming side, here's the biggest misconception. Everybody, not everybody. There's a lot of people that say, well, by golly, the Hutterites got that land there again. By golly, they're farming 40,000 acres. They're farming 30,000 acres. Here's the biggest misconception. We're farming right now. Farm River is farming north of 30,000 acres. Okay. Now that's 30,000 acres. But here's the thing. We've got close to 30. I think we're sitting at 38 families. So do the math. To do the math is
less than 1,000 acres per family.
Less than 1,000 acres per family. Now, you guys, I'm not sure how much you guys farm, but I can almost guarantee you it's more than 1,000 acres per family. That is one of the biggest misconceptions in social media. That's the biggest misconception. Now, you try to feed a family on 1,000 acres in today's grain prices. You can't. There's absolutely no way you can do it.
Yeah, not unless you're growing BC fruit in the mountains in BC or something like that. Yeah,
that's one of the misconceptions. Another misconception would be, you got your neighbor driving down the road. You're looking in. Well, the colony's got a brand new 400 or 500 horsepower tractor pulling a lane roller. That 400 or 500 horsepower tractor. I don't know how to put that one. I really can't see. We do run a 700 horsepower tractor on our lane roller and on our heavy harrow. But the tractor that we had on there before was 15 years old, and it was pretty well worn down to absolutely nothing. And then we had to, we decided, what are we going to do? We're going to buy a used one. We're going to buy a new one, because if we buy this new 700 horse tractor, we're going to be buying it not just for lane rolling, not just for heavy harrowing. It's when one of our other cedar tractors goes down. Well, if you got a cedar tractor go down, you go to the dealer and try to rent one of these damn things, you're looking at $800-900 an hour today, Well, guess what? That tractor is getting unhooked, and it happens 3 to 4 times a year, maybe about 3 times a year. That 700 horsepower tractor is getting unhooked. It's getting hooked up to that drill, and it's going seeding. And we can hook up some 250 horsepower front wheel assist tractor onto that lane roller for 4 or 5 days. Sure, it's going to be snorting out of the nose, but you know what? For 4 or 5 days, who really cares? That is one of the biggest reasons you will see a colony running almost 700 horsepower tractor, running a lane roller, running a heavy harrow. That's actually
that makes perfect sense to me.
It's and actually it's the backup tractor. We actually talked on the same thing here, maybe upgrading out of the world's most famous 9280 to another T9 700 to put on the land roller and have it all wired up, plumbed up, ready to go. If one of the drill tractors goes, you pull the pin, 2 hours later, you're back to seeding, and we'll figure out the land rolling later. But the seeding's got to get done. So that's actually something we've actually talked about too. It's just missing this last crop. It's making it hard to do any updating.
Yeah, that's one thing. It sucks when, you just don't get the rain. By golly, it's got to pull, I honestly, don't know how you guys do it down there, Dallas, but God bless your heart. I'm sure it's tough. I am sure it is tough.
It is tough, yeah.
We have some local colonies down there too. She's tough on everybody. She definitely is tough on everybody.
Well, and if a farm didn't grow the bushels, that compensate for the poor price. You're going to be, you're going to be in our situation. You're going to be tightening up the old bootstrings get a little tighter. The belt's going to get a little tighter, and we're just going to have to figure it out for another year, and then we'll revisit it after next year. Insurance isn't there to save us. Insurance is there to make the insurance company money. So, I mean,
there's a reason why there's insurance companies out there. It's to fill their own pocket.
Yep.
To be honest with you, that's the biggest scam. It's the biggest scam that has been ever created in this world is insurance. Do you think there'd be insurance companies? Do you think there'd be insurance companies if they won't be making money?
No. Well, it's a business model. I mean, even the government ran ones are a scam.
100%. You know what the next scam is in the farming world? Warranty. Warranty is the biggest scam you will ever. After a year warranty, sure, the equipment comes with a year standard warranty or whatever. But after that year, that buy-on warranty, shit, that's a joke.
Well, us running older machineries here now, I mean, that stuff did what it's supposed to do. It got off a warranty. So the repairs after that are mine. They're not designed for 10-year longevity. They're designed to get off warranty. That's my opinion on some of that older machinery. It's not built like certain tractors were way back in the day where John Deere, Case, Alice, whoever. They were designing a tractor. In their mind, them engineers were designing a tractor to go forever, on easy repairs. Now they're designing machines to get off warranty. It's going to make 1,500 hours before that power shift goes out, but it's off warranty. And, our bottom line, we put cheap, low quality parts in there, but it should get off warranty. And the few that do collapse during warranty, whatever. We've saved so much money on the rest of them, we can afford to fix a couple. And that's the plan is to build something with, no obsolescence in it, to run for thousands of hours, like mining machinery. Agriculture equipment and mining machinery are so vastly different. Mining machinery runs for 25 or 30,000 hours, then they rebuild it. There's no such thing, with exception of a couple of Tyler's tractors, there's no such thing as tractors and combines made to run 10, 15,000 hours anymore. They're just not designed. The plastic is too light. They're too flimsy. There's light duty parts. They're just junk.
So Tyler, how long do you guys usually keep your equipment?
It really varies. Before things went really crazy here, years before COVID, we were flipping iron, like 3 4-wheel drives, a sprayer, a short tractor, and some hay equipment every 18 months. Here, 5-6 years before COVID, as both of you are aware, and many of our listeners are aware, equipment prices just went stupid. So we tried to flip a few pieces each year, depending on how our year went. So some of it sticks around 4 to 5 years. Some of it stays longer. It really varies on what the prices are doing and how our commodity prices are doing. So I have no real answer for that right now.
That was actually, I asked that question, but it was supposed to be a different question, and I was going to answer. You take your 4-wheel drive. What's the biggest 4-wheel drive you have to pull the drill?
We have 2 case on triples.
You got 2 580 case. How many hours do you put on them a year?
They'll probably get around that 500 hours.
It's about 500 hours.
Yeah.
There you go. Tractors are basically designed to something massively happen. I shouldn't say that, but you run your tractor 500 hours. Sure, the first year your warranty is through the factory. Second year, normally, third year, you got to buy your warranty on it. But you're only putting on 400 hours a year or 500 hours a year. So they know already, what, this guy's only put 400 hours on this tractor. That'd be 1,200 hours. There can't be, what can happen in 400 hours? It's very rare. But in our case here, we've got, we're probably in that 400 to 600 hours a year range. But this tractor that we put the Snowbear Ag tracks on, we put those tracks on.
Shameless plug.
I'm good with that. So we bought this brand new versatile tractor, and the boys took her out into the field. They were doing dirt work with it, which was, they got stuck with it, ripped off some lugs or whatever, and it didn't, just driving down the road with it was horrible. It was doing, yeah, so we decided to put new tracks on it. So we got a set of these Ag tracks. We put them on, and I says, you know what, guys, if these things work out, this company is actually looking for a distributor here in Canada. They've got a distributor in the US. They've got one over in Europe. It's actually, the company is half owned by Germans. We're going to give these boys a try to run for their money. I says to them, everything, if there's a tractor that needs to be out in the field, let's put that tractor out there. And that's what we did. So we actually managed in the first year of having them tracks on there, which was last year, we managed to hit close to 1,000 hours on that tractor. That tractor was on the drill. After the drill, it did lane rolling. We hooked it up to the lane roller. After lane rolling, well, of course, it was on the grain cart. After grain carting, we put it finished the heavy harrowing. Then we put it on a pro till. And then this year was the exact same thing, except the boys didn't use it for a grain cart. So, and we're sitting at 1,850 hours on that machine, on that tractor. And the tracks are really good still. But you know what? The warranty claims on it in 1,800 hours. Shit, I think they had to come out once to change a seal in the reversing fan on that Versatile. And that was it. And it's going into the third year now. So it's warranty after the first year. I'm not sure if I'm too bought over.
Yeah. And then reversing fans and then Versatile. That's pretty common. They barely make 1,000 hours. Ours is whatever we have on that tractor now, 4,000, and it's 1,000 hours, and you change that freaking fan, and that's the oil's going everywhere. That's just it's a great design that works awesome. That doesn't stand up. I mean,
yeah,
but
they've really improved that. Our latest Versatile. I don't think we've had that problem yet, but I don't know if I know they're not sitting at 1,000 hours yet. But I tell you what, that reversing fan, you know what? Oh my dear, you can. This is no bullshit. You can have two tractors sitting there. You can have a Versatile. These are grain cart operators. You'll have a Versatile 620 ET sitting there, and you'll have one of those brand new John Deere 30s or whatever sitting there. And our grain cart operators will 100% of the time run to that Versatile. You know why? The good old reversing thing. Yep. 100% of the time. Nobody's got time. In the middle of the harvest, prosperity, going out, blowing out reds. That shit's a thing of the past. Every tractor, as far as I'm concerned, is supposed to be coming with a reversing fan.
Yeah. But actually, back to the longevity, I was out mowing today, just some crop and some sloughs and stuff, and looking up at the old tack there, the old 9110, 1988 Case 9110 tractor, and I got a Schulte mower behind it. 11,500 and X number of hours on it. And that tractor runs just like a champion. The power shift gives a little bit of grief, got some solenoid issues, but the diffs are good, the power's good, runs good, the air conditioning's ice cold. And that tractor's got, with a little bit of good maintenance on it, fix a solenoid in the transmission, probably 10,000 more hours built into it. Where I would think the same tractor now, in comparable horsepower and size, is not going to be a 20,000 hour tractor. It'd be lucky if it's a 7,500 hour tractor, and then she'll be sitting in Combine's World's back lot there, just getting tore apart for scrap metal and a whole lot of plastic.
If any plastic's left on it.
If any plastic's left. The plastic will rot off in the sun and fall away, and oh yeah. And that pisses me off. Why is there so much plastic on these tractors? They need to put plastic fenders on them so they can mount all sorts of weights to anchor them to the ground. Make the fenders out of metal like the old 9280 was and the 9110. Well, but plastic's cheaper. But you still got to end up adding weight to them to anchor them.
Yeah. So going back to the longevity of life on a tractor, Edison Motors, what that bugger, he's got something coming up, and that's going to be good. I talked with one of our local John Deere dealers with the salesman here about 3 years ago. And he thought when that new 9RX came out, that 830, it was going to be electric over hydraulic. I honestly think that is where they should be. This is my opinion. I think the dealers should be turning and trying out equipment, and I'm sure they are, like Edison Motors is. You take a locomotive. It's a diesel engine run by a generator. Generators run the powertrain. You take those old log loading loaders back in BC, back in the logging industry. These guys are getting 30,000, 40,000 hours out of these damn things, and they still go to their deep.
Yep.
And
what is his? No, you're very right. No, what's his name there? Chase
Barber.
Chase Barber. Yes. Hello, Chase. We want to have you on the podcast someday.
No, honestly, I think Chase is onto something. I really do. I really do think he is. Is he going to make first base with trying to have a battery run? I'm not sure. I'm not too. But actually, having a
But he's got a good idea there with that.
sure, the idea is there. The idea is there, sure. But having a 300 horsepower running generator that's running 1,000 horsepower electric motors, that's an awesome idea.
And then it's regenerative braking, especially when in the logging roads, when you're coming down a mountain and you're braking basically nonstop for 20 miles. If that's regenerative braking, as you're braking, it's charging the batteries. You hit the bottom of the mountain and your battery tank, or whatever, call it battery tank, the battery level is at 100%. Well, you've stored up all that energy. You unload your logs, you head back up the mountain on battery. You might not even have to run the generator hardly at all because you're loading that weight at the top of the mountain. You're running down the mountain, which is generating power. Hit the bottom of the mountain, you're at 100%, and back up the mountain you go. You might be able to haul logs for zero fuel. And not to mention, probably going on the highway, that generator motors. I also follow Chase. I always wish I would have had money to invest in that company because I love the idea of what they got going on. And the right to repair is a big one. Not planned obsolescence is a big one. So that's, I'm like the rest of the world. We're following Chase pretty hardcore, and everybody's cheering for him.
Well, the big sad part is I don't really like to get into politics, but his biggest enemies are politics. Guys that are in a suit and tie that have never freaking worked a day in their life. That's it.
So getting back to topic on Hutterite lifestyle, how do you celebrate birthdays, or is it just religious holidays is all you celebrate?
We do celebrate birthdays, but we don't go, to be honest with you guys, we don't go to the extent of what my friends out in the outside world go to. If they got a party, they go to Chunky Cheese and they invite 60, 70 of their friends. They go to this Chunky Cheese or whatever. We don't do anything like that. The most we'll do is, let's say my daughter has a birthday, and from the age of 4 or 5 right up till she's like 10 or 11, we'll buy an ice cream cake or whatever, and all her friends come over to the house. They have a little bit of a lunch, eat some ice cream, sing happy birthday, and that's pretty much the extent of it.
That's probably more of an agricultural, rural lifestyle. Like that's how we celebrated our birthdays, and that's how my daughter celebrates her birthday. A couple of our school friends come over, little cake, a little meal, play a few games. That's the whole difference of, I think, the rural lifestyle and the urban lifestyle is. And, we're restricted. She only has a few, there's no girls in this area her age. There's a few boys her age, but we're a very small little community. So her friends are older and younger, and it is what it is.
But you know what? Dallas, in the area that the area that you guys farm down there, you're in a really, I honestly think where you are in your area there's really nothing there. Sure, you got your little small towns here or there. You're 3 hours from Regina. You're 2.5 hours or 2 hours from Moose Jaw darn near. Everybody has to help each other. Let's say you blow a hydraulic line. You're not going to be running all the way to Regina to get a hydraulic line. Somebody in the area that's got a hydraulic machine with the fittings, and that's where you go to, more or less, right? In the more suburban farming, I think that's where neighbors lose the connection to their neighbors, because the city is so close. You blow a hose, run to the city, get it fixed, get back, put it on, carry on with life, right? Down in that area, which I've worked in that area actually when I was a runaway, you went to the neighbors. Well, you got the hose fixed or whatever, and it was 8, 9 o'clock at night. Well, you sat there and you had a beer with them, and you bullshitted for another hour, and then you took off, got it fixed, and you carried on.
Well, that's a story that I could say happened last week. You're moving, our farm is fairly spread. Our swather and the swather transport was the other side of Wood Mountain. It was 25 miles away from the farm. Well, we come to go load the swather up onto the transport, and of course, after we get the swather loaded, you walk around and kick all the tires in the transport. Oh, gosh darn. There's one that's just a little too low to make the trip back home. we're 25 miles from home. We don't got the service truck. Nothing has air. Actually, it's a young lad there, a young boy in the same class as my daughter is in school. Their parents only live 20 miles away. They have a nice farm over there, nice big fancy shop and stuff. So I called them, no answer, texted them, but basically I wasn't too worried. I went to the shop, I found the carry tank, filled it full of air, grabbed the chuck, grabbed the gauge, come back, pumped the tire up, went back to his farm, and then he finally got back to me. Yeah, I'll meet you at the farm in a little bit. And I'm like, thanks, buddy. Already got it taken care of. I owe you a case of beer for stealing your carry tank or whatever. But I mean, and if somebody happened here in our farm and they needed something like that, I fully expect the neighbors to be in and out of the yard if they need a wrench or a tool or a carry tank or something. But I don't know if you can get away with that, closer to the bigger cities, just wandering into your neighbor's shop, not unless he's a really good buddy, and start rummaging through his toolbox looking for tools. But out here you can.
Well, that's where when I used to be, I'm more in the armor side now. Well, I basically brought it from nothing to where it is now. But before that, I was 100% on the farm. On the farming side, I was a mechanic for 16 years, and I was, ran a combine, ran a drill, ran everything under the sun. But all the neighbors, most of the neighbors, I knew them, really good friends with them, and it was like, you know what, call little buddy up. I needed air or whatever. Hey, no problem. Just jump and pull in there. The air chuck's there, and carry on. Just go ahead and do it. But I think the farms are getting bigger and bigger. I think they're getting more, how would I see it? More corporate. They're getting more corporate. It's if it's not seeding time or springtime or harvest time, she's a 9 to 5. That's kind of how it sounds to me, more or less. I'm not sure how it is in your work, Tiger.
We all put in time, and it's kind of like that here too. And if it's not seeding or harvest time, we're not out till 10 o'clock or midnight, but we'll start at 7, 6 o'clock in the morning, go till 6 or 7 at night, then we'll call it a day. And when we're not feeding cattle or like this time of year, we try to take weekends off if it can work out or if the weather allows it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's, all three of us guys here, we all have younger families. And you have to spend time with your children. I mean, not only it's a must, I want to take her aquatic. I want to do stuff with her, and when you're gone the way we are, a lot of the time of the year, I'm out of the house before she's awake. And when she was younger, she was in bed before I got home, and it'd be weeks on end. It almost seemed like you hadn't seen your own child, yet you're living in the same house. So we can take the weekend off. I know. I was doing some spraying this weekend, so I didn't take much time off. But next week we're going to take a little trip to the city, and yeah.
I know what you're talking about. When my kids were younger and they were at the age where they were starting to remember faces, like you said, Dallas, gone in the morning before they're up, home when they're in bed.
They play
After
strange.
that, too, I was a stranger to them, and it was heartbreaking. But unfortunately, that's the world we've chose to live in. I got another question for you. Edward. Back to the colony life. How does a day look?
We can sidetrack this pretty quickly here.
We can. But you know what? That's what this is all about.
Oh, yeah, it's exactly.
So how does a day look for the boss of the colony versus the young guy that's at the bottom of the totem pole? And I know you said everybody is equal. But you got your boss and you do got your guy at the bottom of the totem pole. I don't care what industry you're in. If everybody's equal, there's always that one guy that's at the bottom of the totem.
So what at our farm is how our farm kind of works. Everybody has their thing to do. The truckers, the field boss, he's basically the one that calls the shots. Let's say there's canola to be hauled today. He's gonna put it out on the WhatsApp group, on the truckers WhatsApp group. Yeah, boys, 50,000 bushels of canola, Pioneer needed down there in the next 3 days. So the truckers, they know exactly what to do. They're gone, or their day is booked or whatever. The truckers are truckers. My man who we're living, we gotta love our truckers. And so, but going down to the bottom of the total pole, let's say you got a kid that just gets into the workforce. We kind of start them out. Either they're gonna be going to now that we're building a farm, it's either they're in the metal shop or they're else they're going out build on the farm. build the buildings on the farm. But if we won't have the building, if we won't be building a new farm, a kid that's just coming into the workforce, he'll either be going into one of the barns to help out there, or into the metal shop to help out there, until the next guy comes into the workforce. So when the next guy comes into the workforce, you know what? The guy previous to him, you know what? He's gonna go out. He's gonna find a little bit more of a responsible job, like running a tractor, running a seeder, running a sprayer, and so on and so forth. How would, and that's kind of how you get to the top of the ladder, more or less. Like, let's say one of the guys on the drills, he retires or he gets a different job. Well, the guy right underneath him, he's gonna take over that drill, you know. But it's kind of a catch-22 on our police here. We have some guys that go to high school, and we have some guys that drop out at the age of 15. So the kid that drops out at 15 works at the barn, works at the metal shop, and next thing you know, he's running an air seeder. Well, next thing you know, he's running an air seeder, he's running a semi-truck, you know. We've got some nice semi-trucks, so guys really don't want to give them up anytime soon, right? So what happens to the kid that goes to school until he's 18 years old and he comes into the workforce? And this kid that's 17 years old, got out of school at 15, he's already running and managing an air seeder, a combine, you know, he's got some responsibilities. So where do you start this 18-year-old kid? You start this 18-year-old kid running a rock picker? And he'd be like, well, what the hell am I supposed to be running a rock picker? I'm 18 years old. This 17-year-old kid's already running a combine and an air seeder and all this and that stuff. So that's kind of a catch-22 right there. You know, it's definitely a loaded subject.
No, that 18-year-old, he might be better suited off in times to be more in the number management side, you know, with more schooling than the other kid that started off the rock picker, roller, air drill, combine. You know, it's all their own path, I guess. But I could see if the 18-year-old, okay, I want to work on the farm. Yep, here's your rock picker. but Jacob, he's got an air drill. Well, Jacob's been running machinery for 3 years. Enjoy your rock picker. But if his schooling led him down the path that he's going to be the number man, the money man, then that's where you need different education levels. But actually, that leads me to my next question. The schooling, like, you guys have a school right on the colony, or do they commute off for that?
No, we got our school from, we're grade 1 right to grade 12 right on the colony. Right.
So
right
who would be the teacher for that?
They get hired through the school board. The school board. We're through a school board. They get hired in through a school board, and those are the teachers that teach here.
So it's not like a big run-room school, though, is it? Like, there's still multiple rooms, or not?
The one that we've got, they've got a few rooms. They've got a couple of rooms, not very big, but you know, we have. I think they got I'm not quite sure how they run it or whatever. I haven't been in school in a dog's age, but I should have stayed in a little longer. Anyway, so I guess they got a teacher for, I got grade 1 to, I think it's 1 to 6, and then they got a couple of teachers from grade 6 to grade maybe 8 or 9, and they got a couple of teachers from 9 to 12. So
well, that's not much different than our little small town school. There's only 30 or I think maybe 60 kids, but yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 is a room, and 4, 5, 6, 7's a room, or whatever numbers they're at.
Yep.
And that's just how we learn. That's how I grew up.
So are there many students that will carry their education on to grade 12, or do most students drop out at 15?
It's 50-50. No, I think it'd be about 65% of them are 65 to 70% are, they want to take their grade 12 education, and the rest of them are, you know what, adios amigos, we'll see you later. But I don't blame the kids that want to go to the grade 12 education, because like I said before, we're 85 to 90% self-efficient. We've got our electrician, we've got our own licensed electrician. You know, to become a licensed electrician, you need your grade 12, your licensed plumber, everything in today's day and age, you have to be licensed to do it. You know what I mean? I know how to write. I know a guy in the colony. that dropped out of grade 2, he will underwork. He will absolutely underwork, outsmart any of the smartest electricians that you can bring to him. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I know some electricians in colonies. I can guarantee you they could start working for Elon Musk doing electrical work on a flipping space rocket tomorrow. It's just in them. It's just in them, and that's what they like doing. And that's how they are. And you take me, the only thing I know about electrician is red is negative, or sorry, red is positive, and black is negative, and you put them together, they spark. That's about the only thing I know about electricity.
Eddie, we always talk a little bit about the farm stress line here in Saskatchewan on all the podcasts, because that's something pretty important to us.
Yes, it is.
Tyler and I both know how stressful farming is, especially like you said, you don't know how guys are managing down here, and we'll manage for another year or two and then we'll figure it out from there. But the farm stress line here in Saskatchewan is free to charge. 1-800-667-4442, I believe. I don't have my sheet handy. I've done it so many times I remember it. I mean, if you're having a little tougher time and things aren't going your way, there's an operator at the other end that's trained to handle the deal with stressful situations. Not everything in this world we can do ourselves. Right from Eddie on the colony, there's guys that, you're not going to change one of them tracks by yourself. You're going to get help. But sometimes there's some mental issues out there in farming and agriculture that you need to be able to say, I need a little help with this. I got some things I got to get off my chest. I want to talk to somebody. I need to talk to somebody. And that's always been so near and dear to us here, because in my mind, I always say we're all in this together. And same with you in the colony. You're all in that together. We're all involved in agriculture as a whole. And I'm here to help out my brothers and sisters and everybody in this to try to make it through some of these terrible, tough times, whether the trade issues are bothering you, whether it's drought is bothering you, whether these low prices are bothering you. There's somebody at the other end that's going to be willing to take a phone call, listen to you talk. They're not there to judge. They're only there to help.
Yep. So I got a question on you, Dallas. Fortunately, I've never had to call that number, but who trains that person at the other end of that line?
That I don't know. We did part of an episode here a while back with some people in that area. And we have to finish that episode with more people there. But there is a trained professional at that other end. It'd be through the government, obviously. I know that in Saskatchewan, you can qualify up to 6 free hours, I think, of one-on-one counseling. And there's a whole list of other, like here, actually, they sent out some fancy magnets, like they're right from the kids' help phone, helpline, suicide crisis number. All these are on these fancy magnets. The mental wellness for Saskatchewan farmers and ranchers, little fridge magnet. It's a fancy magnet. It's got a QR code. You can scan it. But there is trained professionals. I don't know who trained them, but I know they are trained, and I know they're very biased. They're non-biased. They're not judgmental. They're only there to help.
No,
I've actually had some friends reach out to me and say they've called that number over the years, because when BSE happened and your cattle herd went from worth $100,000 one day to $5,000 the next. That was pretty stressful for a lot of guys.
No, it is. It is. No, there's no doubt about it. No, fortunately, I've never had to do it. I feel so sorry if somebody has to, but you know what? That's the way life is, right? Not, how would I say it? Not everybody got in place, everybody in the land of milk and honey, right?
Well, this episode's got to come to an end here eventually. My eyes are wide open. I've learned so much, and there's so many more questions on my sheet of paper. Eddie, I got to ask you back again for another episode, because we're going to be at hour 40 minutes on this one. So next time we're coming back, we're going to delve more into what your colony is right now, with the Arm River Agro, the farming side. So I got to ask you a favor, buddy. You want to come back to another episode someday?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. It was my pleasure. It was my pleasure.
No, it's our pleasure, and I know I enjoyed making this episode, and thanks to all the farmers and everybody who listened to this podcast out there, the Bunny Hug Farmers Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. And Tyler and I know we've said it, sound like a broken record. We really are truly enjoying doing what we're doing. And so thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.